Okay, we're here for the third episode of The Rider's Turn, and our special guest today is Cameron Beaubier, our four-time MotoAmerica Superbike champion, and we're going to go through race one at Barber, which was the championship of Alabama. Obviously, our final round of the season, but not the last race. It's the second to last race, and Cameron chose this one to talk about, and I think you'll see why it's actually a pretty good race, obviously for him. And it's a good battle and stuff like that, so it'll be a good one for us to talk about. All right, the start here. You're on pole position, and this has got to be like, you've got to be frantic at this point based on everything that's going on.
You would think so, but for some reason going into this race, I wasn't nervous. Like, I'm a nervous wreck. You can ask anyone that's in my corner before all the races. Like, I'm a nervous wreck before the race. I'm like, kind of getting into my ritual, my routine, and but for whatever reason, like going into this race, I think because we were still like, there was a glimpse of trying to get the title, but like in reality, I just had to go put my head down and try to win the race, and that's the best way to race, in my opinion.
Well, and that's the perfect start for what you're trying to do here.
Yeah.
I mean, right here, you're thinking,
No, absolutely.
Life's good.
This start, I was like, okay. And then I think I run wide.
Yeah, I think
I don't know if it was the first lap or I got the whole shot, and I never get the whole shot, right?
Right.
And so I'm just like going balls to the wall, trying to like check out early. And I think it kind of
it's coming up here pretty quick, I think.
Because normally,
So like there, you actually have a lead, like.
Yeah, I feel like normally in most of my races, I always get like a pretty mediocre start because for whatever reason, I've just been sucking on starts the last couple of years. I'll have a good one every now and then. And then I kind of work my way into the race, and then I build from there. But here, like, I got a good start and everything was working good. This track was amazing this year. Like, I think our lap times were a second and a half faster than we've been there the last few years. And I think it's purely just because it's the new asphalt, the new lap. And it was weird too, because it felt like you were a little back in there. It felt like you're going slower, right? Because the track was just so smooth, and it's not like the track was that rough, but there was some bumps here and there the last couple years, and it was literally just baby butt smooth. And it gave you like the sensation that you're going slower, but then you look at your lap time. Whoa.
Yeah, that's Jake Lewis.
Then you look at your lap timer, and we were in the 23s or something. And so it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
So this
right there. That was close. That was really close. We got a rewind button?
No. So what do you remember what happened? You're making all kinds of mistakes. So right now your race went from very good to not so good.
So in that fast chicane on the back straight, you come out of there, you're trying to get back to the right side of the track, and sometimes if you don't get back to the right side of the track soon enough, you're not on the right line to throw it into the left going downhill, and it's a blind corner. So have you ridden here?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, so it's a blind corner, and if you're off by a couple feet, which I was, that right, when you flick it back right, comes up really quick, and I was so close to running off the track right there. And I knew as soon as I was around, for whatever reason, I had an idea that, obviously, the Yosh boys, like they're teammates, and they want the championship.
That's
and
like the last thing you wanted, right?
I knew Heron and Tony, if I got in the mix with them, they were gonna be pretty tough to handle. So
were you being told like already where Tony is or not?
No. I think we actually talked. So the cool thing about this track is the tower's right in the middle of the track, and you can see exactly what position everyone's in every lap. So you
can actually look up there while you're racing and focus on that and get it right?
Yeah, like coming up over turn 5.
Maybe that's what you were doing when you ran off.
No, but it's really nice as a rider because you can look up and you see exactly what position Tony was in, and that was so good for me. And like I said, we were pretty far out of it going in, and it's just pretty crazy how everything tied together. I think I've talked about it before with you, but like this year, it seemed like, last year, like we had a struggle a little bit in the first couple rounds, but then after that, we just started clicking off wins, and I was just riding with so much confidence and just trusting my bike and trusting my guys, and like we were just doing it, and it felt so good, and everything was going perfect. And for whatever reason this year, like everything has just been a little bit of a struggle, like either a little something off with the bike or something off with me, or then when everything's good, then I run off the track like I did at Pittsburgh.
So nothing came easy.
Yeah, everything was just difficult. But then other than like the beginning of this race, when everything needed to go good, it went good. Like my bike worked perfect all weekend. My guys had my bike set up awesome. And Garrett and I were like a second clear everybody in all the practices and all the qualifyings. And it was.
So you get by him there, but he keeps coming back.
Yeah.
At this point, are you concerned about Garrett, or you're?
Yeah, like this. At this point, I was getting frustrated, and I was getting kind of like.
Yeah, like it's. Something, yeah.
We were just like we were like dicking off with each other, like it's so frustrating. But I mean, he was riding good, like he was doing it. Wyman was right there, and just like the differences between our bikes, like I feel like my bike turns a little bit better than the Yosh bike. Their bike comes off the corner a little bit better. And so this track, there's like many different corners and different sequences and stuff like that. And once I can get rolling with my bike, I was able to pull a gap. But just the getting by him part was so difficult. And Josh, like he's an incredible racer, and he's definitely not afraid to park you anywhere, and like he can put that thing wherever he wants. So this is
at this point it's
getting frustrated. And I knew how fast Garrett has been. He came on so strong at the end of the season, and I was like, oh man, like I need to. Like at this point, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to catch up to Garrett. So I was pretty. I think normally I'm pretty like methodical. I can figure out how to set a guy up a few corners before. And I feel like I did that a couple times with Heron, but once I got to a point where I had already done that a couple times and it didn't work, then I was just kind of in like frantic mode and just like basically just trying to force the issue, and you can't ride that like that. You got to keep your composure.
Do you like scream in your helmet or anything? Because I'd be screaming F-bombs at him like the whole time. I'd be like, get the F out of my way, I'm gonna run into you. You don't do that, or
no,
you do?
I can't. I couldn't even hear myself. I got earplugs in. All right, I think there I got it done. I honestly haven't even watched this race. I watched the last round.
Right.
Oh no, here he comes.
Yeah. So you can't move over to the right. You can't hold that tighter line like he can, right? I mean, is that why you have to keep your line?
I feel like with my R1, it likes rolling through the track, and I can pick up a lot of time compared to other riders and other bikes on the side of the tire. I feel like with my bike, like it just likes to roll through the corner. See, I ran wide there again. I was just in aggro mode, but like right here. This is maybe like the best I felt all season. Just like seeing Garrett out in front of me. And,
a little carrot, and you just started ripping off fast laps.
And I just started ripping off fast laps, and I just felt like I wasn't tired. It was hot, but it wasn't crazy hot. I was just like pounding out the laps, and I was just like in this awesome rhythm, and it felt so good. I think we were able to do. Like times we did in qualifying on Super Bowl tires. I think we got down into the 23s, which I was pretty pumped about.
So based on your past experience with him, do you ever like, you got to constantly think that Tony could keep coming, right? That's always in the back of your mind because of the way that.
You can never settle with that guy. And coming into a round like this, has been completely different for me because I feel like the other 3 championships I've won, there's been 2 like where you're just trying to be so careful and so cautious at the end of the season just to wrap up the championship. And this round was completely opposite. Like I had to go for it, and like I had to get my stuff done, and it's pretty cool how it all came together. But I was honestly pretty surprised how bad Tony was just struggling, because I mean, he's obviously an incredible rider. He's won like the last 3 out of 4 races here over the last few years, and I think my bike and Garrett and I just took a liking to the pavement a little quicker or something, and they could never catch up through the weekend. But
this race was actually, looking back at it, this race was actually more important than the last one. Because this set everything up for the last one. If this wouldn't have worked out the way that it did, then the last one wouldn't have meant anything. But did you know that going into this one?
You're saying like New Jersey?
No, I'm saying like this race compared to the next day.
Oh, yeah.
This one was more important because it basically set the tone for the next day.
No,
and also,
absolutely.
you could see that Tony was struggling and he was going to continue to struggle.
So that's what I was saying. Like going into this race, we were still like a rate almost 20-something points out. And it was still a pretty long shot. And I knew, like, even if Tony's off in practice and qualifying, like he normally figures it out in the race, and like he's right there, which is really impressive. And so going into this race, like I was just like, all right, I just need to do my thing. I know I have the pace to win, and go do it. And then we did it. And then I realized, like, coming in, like going to sleep on Saturday night, I'm talking to my guys, I'm talking to my family, talking to Shelby, and like, holy crap, like we're back in this. Like if everything goes right, we could actually pull this off. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then going into Sunday, I was a nervous wreck. Like I was for sure like in warm up, I tried to just get through warm up, like put in a decent time. And I got pretty stressed out because I saw Tony, he threw in a pretty good time in warm-up, and I was like, oh man, like here we go. And I made sure I went out on like used tires. It's kind of funny how like riders' brains work. Like, at least for me, you can go set a fast lap and all that stuff, but like I feel like as a rider, you need every little confidence you can get, and like one thing for me is I go out and warm up on most of the time on used tires, and I go as fast as I can on used tires. And if I'm fastest on a used tire, like that gives me so much confidence going into the race, because I know if I put on a new tire, I can, that's a few tenths right there, or half a second, something like that. So that's a really good thing for me. And I did that, but then I was like P4 or something in warm up, and I was like, oh man.
Do the riders generally know also like what their competition was using, like as far as tires? Like, can you tell like, Tony was on used tires, or Tony was on a new tire when he did that lap? Or
I think here everyone was on the same tire.
Right.
But that was pretty tricky earlier in the year, because like, for example, Garrett and I, like sometimes I would run the green tire, sometimes he would run the red tire, and it's the front tire. The red tire is obviously the extra soft, and then or the super soft, and then the green is like the extra soft. Like it's a little bit harder. And I love, like, for whatever reason on the R1, the red tire works so good. Like there's just so much edge grip on that tire, and I feel like when I first put it on, when we were testing at Thunder Hill, I tried it for the first time, and then we tried it at Sonoma at the test like a year ago, and then we started racing on it, and it like unlocked the chassis of my bike. Like it felt so good. Like it took away the little bit of chatter, and I was able to just put the bike more to use on the side of the tire, and that's how my bike goes fast. But it does shred up, like at certain tracks, like for example, Coda this year, it shredded up pretty good. A couple other, Sonoma, it was shredding. And then I went to the green tire and raced on that just because we didn't want to risk it for the race. But
So here you obviously by your pit board, you've pulled away from Tony. And then at this point, you're closing in pretty good on Garrett.
yeah, I knew like I started coming back, and it was a good feeling. And I saw, I could see his board, and it would say, I don't know, +2. I could see the gap coming down, coming across the line, and I was like, all right, okay. And like here, I was just trying to not ride over my head and risk crashing, because I mean I was riding on the limit here. Like I was pushing pretty dang hard, and I was just trying to, like, I knew I was catching him, and I was trying to basically play it safe a little bit, like not ride over my head for those extra couple tenths, because I knew I was creeping up on him.
And you knew there's a lot of laps left.
Yeah. Yeah, Garrett, it's funny because we run our bikes like similar in some ways, but quite a bit different in other ways. Like he runs 1.5 degree cups, which rakes the front end out a little bit. And so when I was behind him, and you never ride with a guy you're racing against until you're actually racing, right?
Right.
You never ride with him in practice or anything like that. Same with the Yosh boys and Maddie, all those guys that we race against. And so you can, like, after the first race, you can really see like what's working for someone else and what's working for you. And for example, like I feel like with him, the 1.5 degree cups, which rakes the front end out a little bit, like it's a little slower to turn, but once it turns, like it arcs better. And then my bike's a little more snappy. Like I can do a little bit more with it. Initially, like turn into the corner maybe a little sooner and keep a tighter line than he can. But his bike in the last section, like all those archy corners, like it worked really good.
So is your setup a little riskier?
No, not necessarily. It's just a little steeper. Like, and I guess my bike's a little taller, and so, but that's how I like to ride. I feel like he rolls through the track too, but like we just have a little bit different styles.
Now, going into this race, I know there wasn't actual real team order talk, but I mean, did you get the feeling like, okay, when I do catch up to him, he's not gonna give me too much of a trouble?
I think Sunday was definitely it was more like that. Like Saturday, we were just trying to get through Saturday and see where we were at Sunday. But I felt like after this race, I was really happy with after this race, just the pace that we had. Like we were going as fast as we were in qualifying, like I said. And I had to work my butt off for this race, but then Sunday for sure, like he took care of me. Like he rode for Yamaha that day, which is pretty awesome. Kind of like these boys are doing right here.
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's obvious that's
at the end of the day, it is like it's a team. You know, you want to bring home that plate for the team, and I feel like Yamaha they literally have started our careers for us. You know, we both signed on in 2012 as teammates on 600s on Graves, and just kept going from there. And it's been pretty amazing, like what they've done for us, and kind of where we're at now. You know, he's going over to Europe, and I've won 4 Superbike championships, which went by like that. It's pretty crazy. And yeah, it's going to be pretty cool to see what he does over there. That's for sure. It seemed like the first test went pretty good. And
no, I think he's going to do well.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. But yeah, you could see Heron for sure.
Heron's making sure nobody else is getting close.
And going into this round, I was, we were still pretty far out of it, but I had some confidence going into this round because I started feeling pretty good. You know, we had a couple issues at New Jersey, but we were able to win Sunday, and throwing some roost. Yeah, we had a couple issues at New Jersey, but we were able to win Sunday, and man, like JD was riding awesome, Maddie was riding awesome, and I was just kind of surprised. Like, it was the same boat. Tony was struggling a little bit, and I was like, man, that's really when I was like, man, like we have a shot at this.
Right, because
know
there was a
when
bunch of guys going fast, so
Yeah.
you knew that he didn't necessarily wasn't going to get second every time.
When I crashed at Sonoma, I was like, all right, like it's pretty much over. And then Sunday, it was like the best feeling ever. I just went and rode free and just did whatever I want with my bike, and like I wasn't afraid of crashing. You know, I would go ride and like flow through the track, and I wasn't riding tight or anything because I didn't have anything to lose. And that's a really good feeling as a rider, like just not worrying about anything, just going.
At what point do you start thinking about where's a good spot to pass? Have you sized him up enough yet, or I don't know how many laps you stay behind him at this point?
At this point, I remember thinking like I wanted to get on his rear wheel, and once I got on his rear wheel, then just start flowing through the track. And I think that like obviously he sees my pit or his pit board, right? And he sees the gap start slowly coming down. And then I feel like there's a point when you're getting caught as a rider where you just kind of like, you take a deep breath and you relax, and like we linked up, and I love that section right there. It's such a fun section, especially with the new pavement. You just have so much grip. It feels like you're riding on super glue, and you just throw the thing side to side. And same with this section too. Coming up over here, like you're fighting the wheelie, and then like the rear end's trying to slide a little bit. On with this qualifying tire, there's like no better feeling than going over that, because like you're on a super bike, right? They have 200 something horsepower,
right?
And like you can be so aggressive with the gas with how, like, I don't know, like I remember like in my head thinking in qualifying, like coming over there with 3/4 throttle or something like that on a super bike in third gear, and you're like, I shouldn't be able to do this right now. It's a cool feeling. This corner before they repaved it was a little squirrely.
The one up the hill?
Yeah, it had some bumps in it, and it would get get that thing all out of shape.
Do you remember where you passed him?
I don't. Probably down the hill a little bit. But kind of similar story here, right? Like he could have fought me really hard to win the race, but I think he was thinking big picture too. You know, I'm not saying he just gave it to me, but
yeah, he wasn't going to do anything.
We were, yeah. I think that really helped me too at the end of the year, like having such a strong teammate pushed me along, because he kind of kicked me in the butt at the end of the year and got me going, because I feel like I started off the season with a win, and normally like we kind of build into the season, right? And yeah, he came on really strong, and then I started getting going again, and then we just fed off each other, and just like every practice, like we just kept moving, and I feel like towards the end of the year, we kind of pulled ourselves up to another level.
I think that had an effect on Tony too, because suddenly he was racing against two guys instead of one.
Yep. No, actually, you know what? I think it was in that last right-hander where I got him. And that's what I was explaining to you about, like the difference in our bikes. Like I can hold a tire line initially, and his bike turns better later. The way we set our bikes up different. You know what I'm saying?
We've seen Cameron take a couple little runs. This would be another spot. You get through this right, if you can get a run on a guy, you can do something with him. But passing somebody down into this left,
the track looks so good, all black.
I know it does. It's weird too, because I remember the first session out, you'd see the rubber, on the track. You know, you don't really see the rubber on the track at all.
Here it is.
Yeah, yep, right there.
What was that foot thing?
I don't know. I just slipped. I was tired, man. I was tired. I'm just kidding. I love watching that back though. Just when you slide and you can actually see the rubber coming off the tire, like laying on the ground. I love that.
So right here, you're just like,
See the kind of the same thing that we see in that battle for
this
third
is going to be a
place
good day.
between two
Yeah.
teammates. Gerloff is not
And
Like,
meanwhile,
I wanted to
you're still
keep
looking at the tower, so
Yep.
you know he's in
I wanted to
third.
keep chipping away.
what's on the line.
And at this point, I saw him.
Here you go. See, Cameron just has this ability to go tighter than
I saw him down in. Well, you see, that's exactly what I was talking about. So, like my bike, I feel like I can put it online initially a little bit better than he can, but then his bike turns better a little bit later than mine. And it works good at some tracks. It works, or one works better at some tracks, one works better at others.
Now, is that the kind of thing where you ever try what he uses and he tries what you use or not?
Yeah,
You do?
yeah. But I feel like for my style, I like that a little bit better. Yeah, I saw. I remember in my head thinking, like watching the board, like this was a long race for me because I had to catch up, and then once we caught up, or I caught up, I just like tried to keep my head straight, and I kept looking up at the board, and like, and it's not like I was losing focus looking at the board, but I was just like there's so many things going through my head, and it was just a long race, and then I would look up and I'd see 24 and third, 24 and third, 24 and third. And then I saw JD start kind of like creeping up the ladder. And I was like, oh man, like if JD gets up there,
Yeah,
that'd be pretty good
he
for
did
me.
get close, but then Heron sort of had a little go with him as well. So
Well, having a guy like Taylor Knapp come down here and test tires for you is the right guy to do it. Taylor still has a ton of pace, so having him at your disposal.
Yeah, I think Stamboli told me that he ended up missing, or like everyone got stuck in Texas or something flying into this race. My parents did too. And
Oh,
so
those
like
storms.
JD didn't have his crew chief the first day on practice.
no, he didn't.
And I think that that hurt him a little bit. I feel like it might have been a different situation if he was up there too, you know?
Right.
It would have, I mean, everything worked out obviously, but
Yeah, they didn't have any help that first.
yeah.
It was basically like it was basically like missing a day of practice.
Yeah.
The thing I'm watching though, Greg, on our screen, and we've got
Did the laps start getting long at this point?
Yeah. So like, especially that point right there, like you're on the side of the tire so long, and like just, yeah, your right side of the body is getting tired, like your quad and like your abs and just everything right there. Like you're just like, it's like you're almost like holding your breath right there towards the end of the race because you're hot and you're dehydrated. And especially like I pushed the entire race to catch up to him. And then once I finally did, like I was just like, I took a deep breath, but then I still had like 6-7 laps to go. And we still had to keep going.
Yeah, see, at this point, JD gets pretty close.
Yeah.
And I think Heron's a good friend at this point, or a good teammate.
Oh, here he goes.
Heron looked over and saw JD Beach had a run on him and just let the lever off. Beach was trying to go up past Heron. Heron's trying to play a little bit of protector. It looks like
Yeah, that would have been even more of a bigger help if JD could have done something there.
Play a little bit of a protection game right now to not let JD Beach by. It looks like
You're looking at the
Does he-
importance of having teammates as being
No.
Does he pass him at all? Did he pass Heron?
and you can see that
I don't think so.
down, so there's a bit of a gap now between two teammates.
I think that might have been as close as he gets, and then Heron starts to get a little defensive, and Tony, as you can see, gets away.
It was pretty cool, right? So we tested at Button Willow on a couple weeks ago,
Right?
like right after I got home from Maui. And I went to Maui with Shelby and her family and a bunch of our friends. And like I've got to go so many cool places for racing, but I've never been on like actual vacation. And it was so fun. Like I did so much stuff that I've never done before. Like we went zip line and just everything, rode to Hana, did all sorts of fun stuff. And then I got home, I got my fix, right? And then I got home and literally drove straight to Button Willow to test, and we rode 2 days. And I rode my bike back to back with with
JD's?
Stamboli's bike, yeah, JD's. And it's pretty crazy, like how, I mean, you jump on the R1 and it feels pretty, you feel at home because it's an R1, right? But it's crazy how different an R1 can feel. And how, I mean, JD's been super competitive this year. and Heron was too a couple years ago on it. And it's just crazy how different the bikes can be, but like you can still turn the same lap time in just a different way.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did.
So
It was good.
is that gonna? Do you think that you'll gravitate
Yeah,
more
right
towards
here.
what he
I
had?
was just like, deep breath.
Yeah, this is it.
And to the line, Cameron Beaubier will take victory and a maximum 25 points over his teammate Garrett Gerloff.
I like after the race, like I was happy, but I was like more just relieved. I was just like, okay, all right, we made it through one. And then like, I don't know, normally after the race, I'm like pumped, you know, like I'm just like, I feel accomplished, you know. After this one, I was just like relieved, and I was like, man, we got to do this one more time tomorrow.
16 points for Tony.
But I mean, at this point, you knew exactly what you had to do the next day.
Like, how do you close that gap tomorrow? That's the biggest thing.
No, this whole weekend was just a pretty, it was a pretty, just a heavy weekend in general. It's like the end of an era for Yamaha. My crew chief Rick Hobbs that we won now 4 championships with. He's retiring. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff changing
Yeah, the team
in
moving to
Yamaha,
performance.
and it felt so good to get this title for them, going out on top and stuff like that. Like it was such a good feeling. That's for sure.
So as far as
Pretty
next
cool.
year goes, obviously the team structure's changed. You're gonna have a new crew chief, a new teammate. I mean, you got to feel comfortable with your teammate though, because you've known him forever.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool to have Jake as a teammate.
He's gonna give you a lot of crap. He said about the fact that he stopped you from having that perfect season.
I know.
Where did he beat you at Road America in one race, right?
Yep. Yeah, we've been battling for the last 8 years or something like that. And yeah, he's really good. He has a ton of talent. I think he's going to be tough. He's
I
gonna
think
be a
he'll
really
do
good
well on that
teammate.
bike. You know,
I think so
'cause,
too.
I mean, he did
Like,
the last time he rode one.
Yeah, right away in Buttonwillow, he was right on pace. Like he was going fast. And I mean, he won a super stock championship on a R1. Like he knows
Right.
how to ride an R1, and he's just an incredible rider across the board. You know, you've seen what he done in motocross and stuff like that. It's pretty impressive. So
So you're
he'll be
not
a
even the
super
best
cool helmet.
motocrosser on your own team anymore.
I guess not. I know, demoted. No, but he'll be cool to have as a teammate, and just the whole team dynamic. I feel like it'll be pretty much the same. You know, I feel like Stamboli. I've heard a lot of things about Stamboli, how smart he is and crafty, but you don't realize like how smart he is until you actually work with him. And I realized that at Buttonwillow. I'm obviously going to miss Rick, but it's just a new chapter for all of us. So it'll be really cool. We
Now-
got a ways to go though, you know, with the 2020, the 2020 R1. Yeah, that was a good feeling coming in. We got quite a bit of stuff to figure out. You know, we got my bike, we have his bike, and then the new 2020, and just kind of put everything together, and it's going to be pretty cool being able to like nitpick and figure out exactly what you want and just piece everything together. So
Is there going to be more testing than in previous years, or about the same?
I think so. There should be. Like last year, I feel like we didn't test a whole bunch, but the tests that we went to, like at Thunder Hill, we'd either have to deal with wet patches or some stuff like that. So hopefully we get a little bit more quality laps in this year, because we're gonna need it, piecing everything together. And then we got an official test here, Barber.
Right.
Yeah, this was cool too. Yeah, my parents got to come out. I think, other than the West Coast rounds, is the first round they got out to in a couple years on the East Coast, which is cool. But
All
that was a
right.
good one.
No, it was good. I'm glad you were able to come and join us today, and we look forward to next year and seeing if you can get number 5. Five's a pretty big deal
I know, that's kind
because
of crazy to think
get
about.
you away from that Josh Hayes guy and get you closer to Matt Mladen, which
Yeah.
you wouldn't even think that's possible
I know,
at some
that's-
point, but now it actually gets pretty close.
We'll see. Keep
All
our
right.
head down.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll see you next time. We're gonna get we'll get the little Spaniard out here. We haven't done him yet, so him and JD are next.
All right, right on.
Thank you.